I don't want to talk. I just want to enjoy the song. This is the S Word, powered by talkSPORT with myself, Harry Symeou, and Master Tesfatsion. Now, it's been a mixed start so far for the African nations in the opening week of the World Cup. And I'm delighted to say, to help guide us through, is a massive friend of the show, African football expert, Michael Lahoud. Michael, how are you, my friend?
Hold on. First and foremost, I'm joined by probably the only two Arsenal fans that I'll ever say that I like on planet Earth. Harry, I'm a big fan of yours. I've been following your work for a while.
Thank you, man.
This is an honor. And Master, I know you too well, man, so that's not an honor.
I don't want to get drawn into the why everybody hates Arsenal fans debate, because we could be here all day.
I did that last night with the United fans. I don't want to repeat that right
We'll
now.
leave that alone. We'll leave that alone. Michael, let's get into it then. Let's start with Ivory Coast, because the victory that they produced last night, the moment that they produced to win the game late on, was one of the standout moments of the World Cup so far. It was a really hard-fought game between Cote d'Ivoire and, of course, Ecuador. What did you make of their performance? And are they real sort of serious contenders in this World Cup? Maybe not to win the thing, but to go far.
Yeah, typically when we talk about African football, we think of the juggernauts that are Nigeria, who Nigerians will be on the beach or on the couch somewhere because they're not good enough to be at the World Cup. And I'll say it again, Nigerians, if you don't like what I say, come at me. I'll be waiting. You're not part of this tournament. Now I've gotten that rant out the way.
You are poking the bear, Michael.
You think of the Ghanaians, right? But in my opinion, this is a Cote d'Ivoire side that needs to be taken very seriously. And I think they really announced themselves to the world a couple of years ago at the African Cup of Nations when they won it against all odds with this very manager, Emers Faye. Now, this isn't the African Cup of Nations champions of yesteryear that had Yaya Toure, that had the likes of Gervinho, and even before that, that had Didier Drogba, who are all Premier League legends or Italian football legends. This is a new generation with a new sense of ambition, which leads me to this. I was really struck by how they managed the moments in this game, which was kind of a mirror image of the match we saw between Cote d'Ivoire and France, where in the first half, they didn't really start well. And it just left you wondering if their manager, Emers Faye, knew what he was doing. He made some controversial decisions, one of them being he left Amad Diallo, who's arguably one of their best players, on the bench. But Emers Faye, I think, might be playing chess while everyone's playing checkers, because in the World Cup, where I think this could be the difference maker, subs will make the difference this World Cup for me. It's not how you start the journey, it's how you finish. And on the day, Ivory Coast, they finished the two teams.
Yeah, Mike, let's stick to this Amad Diallo situation, because I do agree with you. Substitutions will make a huge difference in this tournament with the extension and how long it is. But, I mean, Ecuador hit the post 3 times. And to not have Amad Diallo in that starting 11, there's an idea that I had. I mean, they were also pretty fortunate that because one of those goals goes in, and I'm not saying it would be a USA-Paraguay situation, but it's a whole different situation that we're seeing here. I was really stunned that Amad Diallo was not on the pitch, and you saw the difference he made when he was on the pitch. He's with, as much as we're talking about Yan Diomande, and of course he absolutely deserves all the praise, Amad Diallo has been the consistent production guy for Cote d'Ivoire here for at least the last year, 18 months.
Yeah, and you look at the numbers, and we were covering the match, and at halftime I went on a mini rant. And literally, that's why I start saying, what the hell is Emers Faye doing? This is a big decision. And just some numbers I'll throw at you. So since the last October, Amad Diallo scored 6 goals. That's the most of any player on the African continent for Cote d'Ivoire or any other team that wears a jersey representing an African nation. And just looking at Amad as a player, so many people want to crown Yan Diomande as a difference maker, but Amad Diallo is the true difference maker for this team in the final third. What I saw in the first half, and when I looked at the lineup, what Cote d'Ivoire could get in trouble with if they try and do this again against, say, a Germany, Amad brings a sense of composure that we don't see when he plays for Manchester United, but we definitely see when he plays for Les Elephants. The way he took the goal, Wilfried Singo deserves a lot of credit, because I know Wilfried Singo is kind of a wild card, but the way he just burst down the right flank. If you look at Amad's run, Amad starts in the half space, cuts to the top of the box, and while so many of his other teammates were taking an extra touch or trying to almost walk the ball on the back of the net, Amad settled himself, took a deep breath, picked his corner, and slotted it in. And he looked much more like the guy who left Manchester United to go to the African Cup of Nations, a player who, in the midst of the Ruben Amorim debacle, I was thinking was arguably Manchester United's player of the season alongside Bruno Fernandes. Now, he came back from AFCON and he didn't look the same player. So I'm really happy for him. And Emir Spy has a big decision to make. For me, one thing he cannot do again, he cannot leave Nicola Pepe on the pitch as long as he did. I thought Pepe was poor, and he was very fortunate that Amad and the rest of the team bailed him out.
Nicolas Pepe, that's a name from the past, isn't it, Master? That we've moved on from, shall we say. We can't do a section on the African teams without dedicating a good chunk of time to Morocco, because I was blown away by their performance. I mean, they're the African champions, not sure that they should be, but that's another debate for another day. But their performance against Brazil, particularly in that first half, was truly brilliant. I was blown away by how dominant and how in control they were, really.
Yeah, Master, I know you and I were talking about this game, and you can chime in if you agree or disagree with me, but it's amazing to see what investment and the change in infrastructure can do to one nation in Africa. And I've long since believed this, that Morocco is a country that's doing something different. And yes, we can look back to the last World Cup cycle and say, okay, well, it's obvious you're saying that because they made the World Cup semifinal. That wasn't a fluke. And Morocco won't be a fluke this tournament as well, because the biggest thing that they've done is the quality of recruitment, the intentionality of recruitment. Now we live in a world where to be African is not just to be from the continent of Africa. I looked this up. Morocco is the only nation in World Cup history to field a starting 11 of players who weren't even born in the country that they're representing. So you look at the difference maker on the day. Achraf Hakimi, the most popular player, the reigning African Football of the Year, was born in Madrid. You look at the goal scorer, Ismail Saibati. He was born in Barcelona, and he chooses to represent the country of his parents. And of course, we have to talk about the man who stole the show, the midfield maestro. It wasn't Casemiro. It wasn't Bruno Guimaraes. I don't even think it was Vinny Jr. or any of the Brazilians. Definitely not Rafinha. It was Ayoub Bouadi. And Master, you and I both watch Ligue 1. And for all Ligue 1 fans out there, you'll know his name. And I think we're going to remember him very much by the end of this World Cup. Just the way he pulled the strings, the way he just had that high intellect of where the ball needed to go, this sense of composure. He's 18 years old, and he was the best player on the pitch. And Harry, I know there's a team near and dear to your heart who you're stacked in midfield, but if you're Mikel Arteta, at some point, if this kid keeps cooking this way, get the checkbook out and sign him.
In
my dreams, we've already signed him, mate. It's not even a debate. Over to you, Master.
Yeah, he was. I was really impressed with his composure. We've seen it obviously in Ligue 1, and we've seen it throughout Europe. But to be that composed on that stage, facing against Brazil in your first ever World Cup match, it was tremendous to see. But as much as we're giving credit to Morocco as well, I think this was the first match I saw where the hydration break really made a difference in the style of play and some of the tactics that we saw, where Brazil was able to change their midfield, and we saw Morocco wasn't. Brazil was able to find some good chances. I felt like, I thought Brazil had better quality chances in that match than Morocco did. And that goes back to my point that I need to ask you, Mike. Ezazuli's injury, the absence of a magician type of player like that. There was a lot of these chances that Morocco was able to create, but just lacking that final product. Will this hurt them? His absence, will Ezazuli's absence hurt Morocco at some point down the road?
Yeah, I think this is what you're talking about, of the lack of just being clinically defined by the Atlas Lions. I think we saw a massive imbalance where on the right-hand side, it's really Hakimi and Brahim Diaz or bust. And also throws Saibati in there because he is a free roll. And Ismail Saibati, who I saw, he got the Here We Go today, new Bayern Munich player, definitely one to watch. And I think Manchester City fans will remember him because he put on an absolute clinic against the Citizens. But for Morocco, Mohamed Ouabi took a gamble because he went with Bilal El Khanous, who's not a natural winger, and we really saw him playing narrow. But on the other side for Brazil, Roger Ibanez, guys, Roger Ibanez should come and hang out with us in the studio because he was that ineffective. He was piss poor on the day. And I'm a big Roger Ibanez fan because I remember him at Roma because he played for Mourinho when they won the Conference League. So right player, wrong team, wrong time. Enough said about him. But it just made me wonder if El Canoes wasn't in that space where Ez Azouli would be, Morocco would have won this game. Because Ez Azouli's been
100%.
that good for Morocco. He's been that good for Betis. I think he's been Betis' best player. But there's one player who, if you're Wabi, you need to put in on the left-hand side. It's a player that both of you know. He plays for a team up north, somewhere, not Newcastle. I think they finished above Newcastle. Oh, Sunderland. It's Chemsdeen Talbi. The kid's a baller. The kid plays on the left-hand side, mind you. Regis Lebris knew what he was doing. He's Belgian-born, but he's a difference maker. So look for him to start the very next match. I thought when he came in, the momentum you're talking about that Brazil had, as soon as Wabi brought him in, the momentum shifted back to Morocco. So the likes of him, I think, could be a big problem solver.
But the other parts of that, too, I mean, Morocco's bringing in 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds, and Brazil's bringing on 32-year-olds, 34-year-olds. So those young legs, again, I completely agree with you. There are some youngsters on this Moroccan side that will get the chance to express themselves in the absence of Ez Azouli. I just, will they have the same flair? Will they have the same talent? I'm not sure. I'm trying to think if there's any other African nations that you want to talk about here. Should we ask about Tunisia? Because I did, unless you want to talk about someone else. Because me and Mike, we have been very torn on this Tunisia side, Harry, because they ran through their qualifiers, and truth be told, they had a very favorable draw in World Cup qualifiers. So there was always this question: is this team actually good, or were they just very, very fortunate to get a great draw? Mike, we've got probably like about 90 seconds here with this Tunisian side. That felt like their moment to try and get a point in this group, and they fell very, very short of that.
Yeah, I'm going to be very respectful as I can be, because I've hammered a couple people, players, teams, and countries so far. So
people that are not even at the tournament, by the way, as well.
I know. Geez, I'm going to have to be careful, because I know there's Nigerians in the city of New York who definitely have my number and definitely know where I live about. But with Tunisia, respectfully, I think they are in a very dangerous place, because something that doesn't get talked about enough, and when you watch AFCON, you really start to see that sense of competition amongst North African countries. There's this feeling with Tunisia that the game is passing them by. They're playing football in the Stone Ages right now. We saw it against Sweden. This is a Tunisia side that the Carthage Eagles, they're known for being very defensive-minded. When you get to AFCONs, when you look at what they've done in their body of work, I mean, the last World Cup, I think they only gave up one goal, no? And they beat France in it. So defense has been the fulcrum and just what this team is built on. But you just see this inherent lack of quality, this inherent lack of ambition in Tunisian football. And that's now two managers in less than 1 year.
Mike, I might have to say right now, if they sack this manager with the reports that they have, with the report that they have, I know we got to wrap up here, they could potentially have 5 new managers since the last World Cup.
Crazy.
It's just unbelievable. And we'll probably end on that note.
Crazy. Michael, we've run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us, mate, and for your fantastic insight